Okay, so here's another quadratic equation. I'm going to go ahead and just go right into the quadratic formula here. The quadratic formula always works, so I'm not even going to try to factor this one. Remember, when using your quadratic formula, you have to still have it in standard form, so you do need 0 on one side. So because this one doesn't have 0 on one side, I'm adding 15 to both sides to get 0. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and write out my A is -3, which reminds me, what does this graph do? It's opening down. My B is -4. My C is 15, which reminds me that my y-intercept is at 15. This graph is hitting the y-axis at 15. Then I'm going to plug it into my formula, -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Remember, your -b means change the sign of b. So it's a -4, so it becomes a +4. Plus or minus the square root of -4 times -4. That's my b squared. Minus 4 times a times c. Okay? All over 2 times a. So remember, I told you that biggest place people make mistakes is in their signs. This piece, because it's a b squared, is always going to turn into a positive because I'll always either have 2 negatives or 2 positives. So this piece is 16. So positive times a positive is a, negative times a negative is a positive. So I counted them. There's 2. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this piece. I'm going to count them. 1, 2. So this is also going to be plus. Okay? And so when I plug this one in, it's going to be plus, so I'm going to say, let's see, 12, that's going to be 12 times 15, so 180, all over 2 times -3, which is -6, okay? Now I need to go ahead and add those up so that I can finish this, so I'm going to move to the top here. Hopefully you've gotten everything up to here. This is going to be 4 plus or minus the square root of 196 all over -6. Okay? Now I can break this up into 2 problems. 4 plus the square root of 196 over -6, and 4 minus the square root of 196 over -6. Please remember that you're always going to get 2 answers for these quadratic equations. Now, this one happens to be that the square root of 196 is a perfect square. It's 14. So this becomes 4 plus 14 over -6 and 4 minus 14 over -6. I do need to finish this. So what's 4 plus 14? It's 18 over -6. And what's 4 minus 14? It's -10 over -6. Then I'm going to divide, so this one will be -3. That one doesn't divide evenly, so I'm going to go ahead and reduce it. So when I reduce it, that becomes, let's see, 5 over 3. So what does that tell me? That tells me that my x-intercepts are -3 and 5 over 3. My parabola is hitting the graph at -3 and 5 over 3. I also know that this one would have been factorable if I had factored it. Why do I know that? Whenever this is a perfect square, I know that I'm able to factor it. Okay, if I end up with something that's not a perfect square, then it was something I wasn't able to factor in the beginning. Okay, so that's my answer.